Today, we're talking about something that you might not give much thought to, but it's one of the telling indicators to our overall health and longevity, and that is grip strength. So, I had a bit of an epiphany a while back when my loved one was trying to open a bottle of water and he was struggling. And then all of a sudden, he said, "Can you help me with this? I can't get it." "You won't get it either." But then a few days later, my mum's doing exactly the same thing, trying to open this bottle of water and can't get it open. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days after that, I'm going to get a jar out of the pantry. I get it out, and then I find myself going to the kitchen cupboards, opening the drawer and pulling out, one of those fancy gadgets that pops the lid a little bit so it's easier to open. And all of a sudden, I had this realization, am I actually sliding down that aging slippery slope without even realizing it? So, this episode is not just about opening jars and bottles, it's about understanding how the strength in our hands can be a window to our overall health. And what are the simple ways that we can maintain that strength in our hands and in our bodies as we're going through our midlife and beyond? So, are you ready to dive in? I know I am. So, look, it's a really interesting thing, this grip strength thing. And when I was looking at the research about it, I was pretty much gobsmacked because the studies found that grip strength is one of the strongest indicators of mortality, sometimes even more accurate than blood pressure or cholesterol readings or the likes. And so for us women, these numbers are quite eye-opening. And for those of us who have got grip strength under 20 kg, we have a 45% higher risk of mortality. And when researchers adjusted for body weight and BMI, people who were weak relative to all of these three criterias, it was a whopping 69% higher risk. So it's not something we typically think about during our regular health checkups. I don't think so. Is it for you? Do you think about your grip strength when you're going in and seeing the doctor and, having your pap smear and, all the different types of blood pressure and, your blood works and the likes? Do you think about saying, well, what's my grip strength like, doc? I know for me, it's not something that I do. And so we're usually, pretty obsessed on, let's do a full blood count. What's my blood pressure like? How's my bone density going? And maybe we should be asking the doctor about our grip strength. And so today, and I'm waving this little thing around, I'm going to talk about this in a second. I want to dive into why this grip strength can matter so much beyond the kitchen. And so it's not just about being able to open all those stubborn packages that we generally find a little bit hard to do, right? And so this grip strength is a window into our overall muscle mass, neurological function, and our general health. That's just mind-boggling, isn't it, really? And it can generally be the first sign that there's something bigger that might be happening. So as we age, especially after menopause, we naturally lose muscle through the process called sarcopenia, and it's just a fancy term for getting weaker as we age or losing muscle mass. And this doesn't just affect our ability to open jars and bottles and packages, it increases the risk of falls and fractures, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, and even cognitive decline. And what I found particularly fascinating was that link between strength and DNA aging. So the research suggests that lack of strength is associated with accelerated DNA aging, which is connected to disease and disability. So when we work on maintaining our strength, we're actually helping to preserve our DNA health as well too. So there's a lot of good reasons to think about our grip strength and our strength in general. So let's talk about this timeline, shall we? Because the sad truth is, we hit about 30 and we naturally lose, 3 to 5% of our muscle mass each decade if we're not actively working on maintaining it. And this decline can really accelerate when we get into our 60s. And oh my goodness, no wonder I've noticed things changing. So several factors contribute to this decline. Many of us become less active with age, which leads to muscle atrophy. And I found myself pushing back on this once the grandkiddos came to live with us full time. So chasing them around has certainly helped me move more. And as someone who thought I was pretty fit, pretty active, for a mid-60s woman, I really realized that when I had these kids, that I could do so much more than what I was actually doing. And that was a really big aha moment for me, because I was resting on my laurels, I suppose. And it was really it was a really important message for me that Mother Nature, she's a bit of a worry, really, because she tells us it's okay to slow down, and we think that it's okay to slow down. But the reality is that we should be, maintaining what we can and keeping ourselves moving throughout the day, whatever that happens to look like. And of course, then we have these hormonal changes with that decrease in estrogen after menopause, which also affects how we maintain our muscles. So we get it all, right, ladies? It all goes on for us. And of course, then there's this protein factor. And so many of us don't get enough protein to maintain our muscle mass. And so I make this a priority for myself. When I look at, my mum's plate as an example, it's loaded up on everything else, but the protein's just this little tiny piece of protein. And it's like, come on, mum, eat a bit more chicken or eat a bit more fish or whatever it happens to be. But it's like, oh no, it makes me too full. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why we need it. So the other part of this is these neurological changes. There's a connection between our brain and our muscles as well that can deteriorate as we're aging. And of course, then what happens is then the inflammation and the oxidative stress increase as we age. And that also contributes to this muscle breakdown. So we want to look at an anti-inflammatory lifestyle as much as we can. So we want to think about, what are we doing to take care of our body inside as well as outside. And so when I look at some of my aging relatives, or those people that I know who are getting older, who are struggling with these everyday tasks, like buttoning up their shirts and opening jars and, even holding cutlery, I wonder to myself, if this is inevitable, can I change the course of that? And the good news is we absolutely can. But it's about what we do, how we do it, and if we're prepared to do it, right? So let's talk about some simple ways to strengthen our grip strength, shall we? Now, I'm going to give you some ideas here, and hopefully one of those ideas might be something that you resonate with, or it could actually trigger something else for you that you go, okay, I could do that instead. So one of the things I was thinking about was bread, right? So rather than using the mixer to mix up the bread dough, we could actually go back to kneading the bread. How good is that for our fingers, right? But quite frankly, who's got time for kneading bread? But maybe you do have. So it might be something that you go, yes, that's going to work for me. And so the other thing about it is, you know, it, when it comes to washing the dishes up, rather than putting them in the dishwasher, let's wash the dishes up, because we can use the cloth and we can wring the cloths out. And if we take that into the laundry, there could be a little bit of hand laundry that we could do rather than using the washing machine as much. And of course, this all does come down to time factors as well too. But just thinking about the little things that, maybe you could go, well, I'm just going to wash my bras out by hand. So I'm going to take care of my lacy little somethings and rather than throwing them in the washing machine. So it's another idea. Or, maybe instead of using, like me, that fancy little gadget that I've got in my kitchen cupboard, maybe what you could do is actually try to open the jar. Now, if you can't get it, that's okay. You can go use it with the little gadget, but at least you've given it a go and you've used your hands a little bit as well too. And of course, then there's carrying the shopping bags when you're going to the grocery store. I know that if I've only got so many things to get on the list, I will actually take my shopping bags and I will put the things in the shopping bags. And so I'm carrying them all around the store and then I'm carrying them down into my car as well too. But maybe for you, it could be that you're going to carry them from the shopping trolley to the car, but you might have put the trolley in the trolley bay and then walked across so that you're using your hands to do so. So one of the luxuries I have is being on a farm. And so the really great thing is that, mucking out stables, picking the horse poo up is really great for hands and muscles and core and everything. But also just filling up the water troughs rather than actually using the hose, using the buckets because I'm using my hands to do so. That's another good way to actually use my hands a little bit more. If you're a gardener, maybe digging and raking and pruning and all of those things, we're using our hands that little bit more. Or maybe you're someone who likes to knit or crochet, or you're thinking about taking it up. Those types of things are going to use your fingers a little bit more, but they're also, it could be relaxing for you as well too. I'm not someone who likes to knit. I have tried crocheting. I don't mind it, but it's not something for me personally that I find relaxing. But you might, and that's the wonderful thing about it. So one of the things is then to think about some dedicated exercise. So you could use a stress ball, and we all know what they look like. But of course, the one thing about a stress ball is it bounces back. So, and what we want to do is have that resistance a little bit more in our hands. And so that brings me to this little thing here, this little gadget that I've got here. Now, I picked this up at Rebel Sports when Paul almost passed away some years ago, and he had an infection in his body, and they had to do an operation, flush it all out. And what ended up happening is that he lost the strength in his fingers. And so he was going to the OT doing these types of finger exercises, which was really fascinating for me. And it gave me the opportunity to use the little grip strength thing to see where my grip strength was at. And so whilst I was out and about, when I was at Rebel Sport, I came across this little square thing. And so if you, and there's different sizes in it, but if you push one way, that's 15 kilos. And if you push the other way, so we go diagonal, that's 25 kilos. So it's a really good one to actually just have at your desk and do a few squeezes here and there to use and those fingers just a little bit more. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. What else could we do? Well, you could do that while you're watching telly, right? So the other thing is on my daily walk, you can do things with your fingers. So, I hold them up, I do a cross, I come down, give them a big squeeze, take them up, do all these funny little moves with my fingers, spread them out, bring them in. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks as I'm walking down the road. They might think I'm doing counting or something. Who knows? But it's just my opportunity to use my hands that little bit more. Now, one of the other things that I really particularly liked that I did notice made a huge difference was I was watching these grandkiddos who live with us, and they were on the monkey bars and they were, throwing themselves over. So they were holding the rings, throwing themselves over. They couldn't get it straight away. And it was like, come on, Nanny, have a go. And it was like, yeah, okay. Couldn't get it the first time. I tried, got it. I think it was about the third or fourth time I got it over, and it was super proud of myself that I could do it. And I had this sudden realization that on this swing that we were playing on was that bar across the top. And it reminded me of Dr. Peter Attia's research about this dead man hang and how it can be this longevity predictor. And according to his work, how long you can hang correlates strongly with your overall physical resilience and your functionality as you age. And so what I decided to do was, I would just hang on this bar and do this dead man hang. And I noticed that, I could do it for, I think it was like 23 seconds or something like that when I first started. But, over time, I got up to 45 seconds and then beyond that. So it was practicing it that really helped. And now what I'm actually doing is able to do chin-ups on that bar as well too. So small progress over time adds up. And it doesn't matter whether you're going from, a 5-second hang to a 6-second hang. That's still progress, right? It's nothing to to be disappointed in. It's absolutely that you want to celebrate any type of progress that you happen to have. And the other thing I was thinking about that I was made aware of when we were at the OT with Paul was that here in Queensland, you have to have a certain grip strength to be able to drive a car. And so because he wanted to go, can I drive a car? Every week it was, can I drive the car yet? And it's like, no, you're not there yet, not there yet. And so I happen to ask that question. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world or, other states, but it was just something that stood out for me. And I wondered whether when we're going to the doctors, whether that grip strength should be something that's being tested when we're getting our normal blood works and yearly checkup done. I really just think it would be a marvelous thing to add in. So anybody listening to that, think about, asking your doctor, check my grip strength. Or maybe it's something you don't want to know about, but the thing we don't want to know about is generally the thing that we should find out about and should start to do something about. So hopefully you've got something out of today's session, but I do like to finish up with a move moment. So what's a move moment about? It's something that you can do while you're sitting here, while you're standing, while you're walking, while you're listening. So what I want to call this is the finger wave. And this is where you curl your fingers forward, okay? And just start at your little pinky finger and curl it down, okay? And then your ring finger and your middle finger and your pointer and then your thumb and then reverse it. This is a really interesting one. That one, I have to hold my little fingers down to be able to get those fingers up. And then I bring them up. Okay. And so you can just start to, move those fingers, move those joints, get those muscles working, get those tendons and ligaments, get it all working. And you could do it, as I said, you could do it whilst you're listening today, whilst you're out waiting, walking or just sitting outside. And the beautiful thing is that you don't have to be doing anything too strenuous to be able to strengthen our fingers. So let's think about doing this because we're not only improving the strength in our hands, but we're also improving the neurological connection between our brain and our hands. And I think that's really important. Okay, so what have we done today? We have talked about grip strength. It's not just about opening jars. It's a powerful indicator of our overall health and longevity. And second, we all face this natural muscle decline as we age, but it's not inevitable that we become frail. Thirdly, that everyday task activities that we do are opportunities that we can use to maintain and even build our hand strength and our body strength. But let's get started with our hands. So finally, there's something powerful about feeling strong in your body that translates to how you'll carry yourself, how you speak, how you make decisions, and it's all part of what I call ageless confidence. It's that quiet self-assurance that comes from knowing that your body is capable, it is strong, regardless of what your age is. So I'll see you all next week. Drop me a line, let me know what you got out of it today. See you soon.